Creative is back at it here to give everyone my final Game of Thrones Season 5 episode review video. Before I get to that, though, pretty important if you're not caught up to the point where I am at rewatching or watching Game of Thrones, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll say as well as put in the description for you. If that has to be the case and you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further, just to stay away from any potential spoilers. This will be Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 10, the season finale of Season 5. Title of this episode is called Mother's Mercy. This is going to be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. So, the snowstorm that was delaying Stannis' army has cleared, but his officers inform him there has been a mass desertion of everybody. A lot of people left, leaving him with only half of his army with no cavalry, and driven Selyse to actually hang herself because of them deciding to burn Shireen. Now, Melisandre immediately flees to Castle Black. Despite all these setbacks, Stannis orders his remaining troops to march on Winterfell. Now, as Stannis' army marches through the Wolfwood, Podrick sees them and warns Brienne, who leaves to take revenge on Stannis. And she was waiting to see if somebody would light a candle in the tower. And then the second she leaves, Sansa lights the candle. More on that later. As Stannis prepares to besiege the castle, the Bolton cavalry, of course led by Ramsay, suddenly emerges. Despite being greatly outnumbered, Stannis leads his men into battle. After a quick yet fierce battle, the Boltons, of course, emerge as victors. Stannis actually survives the destruction of his army, but he is severely wounded. And then Brienne arrives and announces her intentions to execute Stannis for the murder of Renly Baratheon. Stannis accepts his fate, and Brienne executes him, or we at least think she executes him. I'm a little shocked that we didn't see that moment. As brutal and violent as Game of Thrones is, I would think that they would show Stannis being killed. I mean, they cut to it, to another scene right away, and it just seemed odd to me. That's why I kept thinking Stannis would show up on the final season, just because it was, I don't know. Anyways, at Winterfell, Sansa escapes her room using the corkscrew that she had stolen, signals for help like I'd mentioned. But, like I'd mentioned, Brienne had just left. And then after witnessing the defeat of the Baratheon army, she tries to return to her room but is confronted by Myranda. Now, Myranda threatens to mutilate Sansa, and then Theon finally finds his inner strength and throws Myranda from the castle to her death, just as the Bolton army has returned to Winterfell. Theon and Sansa jump from the castle walls into the deep snow below and attempt to escape. Good for Theon. It's about time he did something, because he's been interesting as Reek. And then Jaime, Myrcella, Bronn, and Trystane leave for King's Landing. Now, before they leave, Ellaria had kissed Myrcella. I guess stuff that they do in Dorne, and I thought that was kind of weird. Well, on the ship, Myrcella reveals that she knows Jaime is her real father and not Robert Baratheon, and that she is glad that he is her father. However, Myrcella all of a sudden collapses, and of course it's revealed that Ellaria had secretly poisoned Myrcella by the kiss that she gave her with poisoned lipstick. And then she had an antidote, or antibodies, I guess you could say, after she started having her nose bleed like Myrcella did. Now, Arya infiltrates the brothel patronized by Meryn Trant with one of the faces from House of Black and White. She stabs Meryn Trant multiple times, brutal, revealing her true identity and confronting him for the murder of Syrio Forel. But she didn't actually see that happen. Just throwing it out there. I never thought Syrio Forel was actually dead. Up until the last episode, I'm like, where's Syrio Forel? Where's Syrio Forel? I thought he was going to show up on the ship that, well, I don't want to get into spoilers for the final season. And then before cutting Meryn Trant's throat. Now, when she returns to the House of Black and White, she is confronted by Jaqen H'ghar and the Waif, And then Jaqen berates Arya for taking a life not meant for her to take, and declares that another life must be taken in order to appease the many-faced god, before apparently committing suicide by poisoning to Arya's shock. However, the waif changes her face to that of Jaqen H'ghar and points out to Arya that Jaqen never existed and that Arya had been talking to no one the entire time. So this entire time when she met Jaqen H'ghar in season 2, it was just nobody. And then the waif also warns Arya that putting on a new face, if one is not no one, is like poison. Because of this, Arya is stuck blind as a punishment. Daario Naharis and Jorah decide to leave Meereen to search for Daenerys. Tyrion is left to govern Meereen in Daenerys' absence, and it was pretty funny that Daario Naharis and Jorah were talking about what Tyrion's going to do. Well, can you fight? I can fight. I'm not a warrior by any means, but I can fight. So you can't do this. You can't do this. All you do is talk. Yeah. And drink. It was a funny moment. And I forgot to mention in my last review of Game of Thrones, Dance of the Dragons, that it was awesome that Tyrion saved Missandei, which I didn't remember to say, and I should have said that, but sometimes I get sidetracked. What can I say? So just want to point that out. But it's going to be left to Tyrion to govern in Daenerys' absence, assisted by Missandei and Grey Worm. And then, out of nowhere, Lord Varys arrives in Meereen and offers use of his spy network to, of course, aid Tyrion. Now, Drogon brings Daenerys back to his lair and rests, ignoring Daenerys' orders to take her back to Meereen. And then Daenerys wanders off on her own, eventually spotting a Dothraki horde advancing in the distance. And then Daenerys drops the ring to the ground before being surrounded. And then Cersei confesses to committing adultery with Lancel Lannister to the High Sparrow, but denies committing incest with Jaime or conspiring to have King Robert Baratheon killed. So the High Sparrow lets Cersei return to the Red Keep, but says that she must return to face trial for the sins that she has not confessed to and must undergo a atonement. Now, after being washed and having her hair cut short, which is Cersei's hair was just perfect, and well, I don't know if it's really her hair. I think it was a wig the whole time, but they cut her hair really short, and then Cersei is actually forced to walk naked from the Great Sept of Baelor to the Red Keep. Now, this wasn't Lyanna Headley that did this. This was a different actress that did this. And as Cersei walks, she is relentlessly harassed, jeered, and pelted with garbage by the angry crowd, ultimately breaking down in tears when she finally returns to the Red Keep. She is covered up by Qyburn, who reveals to her that the newest member of the Kingsguard is a reanimated Gregor the Mountain Clegane. That should be interesting. I miss Sandor the Hound Clegane, by the way. I also miss Hodor and Bran, whatever the hell happened to them. And then we have Jon, who sends Sam and Gilly and their baby Sam to Old Town to become a maester, acknowledging and actually kind of endorsing the romantic relationship blossoming between Sam and Gilly. Sir Davos arrives shortly afterwards, but Jon reminds him that the wildlings will never fight for Stannis. Melisandre arrives soon after. Her demeanor leads Jon and Davos to realize that Stannis has indeed been defeated and that Shireen is dead. But Davos and company don't know how Shireen died, and that is going to be something that they won't be able to handle. I think they find out in Season 6, Episode 10. I could be wrong, though. I can't remember. And then, at night, Ollie and Alistair Thorne take Jon to see a wildling who they said recently has seen his Uncle Benjen. And let outside, he only finds Bowen Marsh, Othel Yarrick, and several other members of Night's Watch, along with a grave marker that reads Traitor. And as Jon realizes that he has been betrayed, Alistair Thorne, Marsh, Yarwick, and Ollie and others take turns stabbing Jon Snow, each uttering, "For the Watch, for the Watch, for the Watch," before leaving him to die alone in the snow. And Jon Snow he's dead. He ain't moving, and there's blood all around his body. And that's how the episode, and that's how season 5 of Game of Thrones ends. Now, I didn't remember this episode as good as I thought I did. This is actually a really good episode. So season 5 of Game of Thrones ends on an excellent note. Hardhome, Dance of Dragons, or The Dance of Dragons, and Mother's Mercy are 3 amazing episodes of Game of Thrones. But the first 7 episodes are not good at all, in my opinion. They're not the greatest Game of Thrones. Of course, this is the season that started without them really asking George R.R. Martin what's going on, and he didn't write any episodes in this season. So Dan and Dave, D&D, kind of took the show on their own, and they get a lot of ridicule and a lot of negativity towards them. I think they do a good job. This wasn't their best work, the beginning of this season at least. So I'm going to give this episode a 9.5 out of 10. Pretty crazy stuff. The start of the Theon redemption arc was good. I've never been a fan of Theon Greyjoy, but this was good. I think we finally seen the end of Reek. We saw the death of Selyse. We saw the death of Stannis Baratheon. Well, we didn't actually see the death of Stannis Baratheon, but we're led to believe that Stannis is dead at the hands of Brienne. And we also saw the death of Jon Snow. Or did we? Okay, you probably already know Jon Snow gets brought back to life, but that's in season 2. Not season 2, season 6. I don't know why I said season 2. So I'm going to give the character of the episode to Arya, because Arya killed somebody that was on her list, Marion Trent, and this starts a trend for Arya of killing people that she wants to kill this season, next season, the season after this, and in season 8, there's 3 other pretty big deaths that Arya is responsible for, if you haven't seen the series. So, you've heard what I have to say, and now it's finally your turn to sound off. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, first of all, make sure you smash that like button. This is an amazing show, despite the flaws of some of the later seasons, which I don't think there are many, but obviously season 5 is the worst season in my opinion. I think it still will be, even after my rewatch of season 8. If you know anybody that would be interested in any type of Game of Thrones review or any type of Game of Thrones video, which I've done other videos on Game of Thrones characters, death predictions before season 8 started, you can share the video with them or to them. Sound off in the comment section about your thoughts. What would you score this episode if you can remember it? Who would you pick as your character of the episode, and what was your favorite moment of this particular episode? I kind of like the stuff with Sansa, Miranda, and Theon, but I also like the stuff with Jon Snow, the Cersei Walk of Atonement. There's a lot of good stuff in this episode. And of course, last but certainly not least, I definitely want to grow this channel, so please don't forget to hit that sub button. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.